I believe it's live now. How you going, Katie?
This,
Is it working?
yeah,
Can you hear me? Okay, awesome.
got it.
Um, hey, everyone. I'm just doing a little bit of a series in interviewing a few of the people who've done the tokens this year as a way to, I guess, share their stories with you guys and also probably use them a bit more to share the stories of the year with the rest of people on Facebook. So I just wanted to ask Katie a few questions about her token year, what she's learnt, and just generally how she's lived, I guess. She's had a super interesting year. First time I met Katie was 2 years ago when we were both working for a company in England, in London. And what I found super interesting about her is that she was more interested in football than I was, plus the shirt today, even though I'm sure she doesn't really appreciate it, being a massive Newcastle fan. And when I'd chat to her about football, I always saw like the passion coming through, and she was mentioning to me about how she was starting out to become a journalist and doing a few gigs here and there. And over the last year, it's been awesome for me and the rest of her friends and family to watch all the things that she's done. She's been jet setting around the world, going to the biggest female football games and reporting on them from the most epic stadiums and the biggest tournaments. And while I'm sure she would have done this without the tokens, I'm also intrigued to find out how the tokens affected her year and her progress, both with her professional career and in her lifestyle as well. So, Katie, would you be able to give us a quick rundown of where you're living at the moment and what you're up to?
Yeah, so I had every intention once I finished uni in the summer to move to Manchester and freelance because it's, football city. But one thing that I've learned this year is life takes some weird turns and you got to be prepared. So now I'm living in Exeter, which is in the middle of nowhere. It's a really small countryside town. And I live in a flat by myself. And I'm doing marketing for a CrossFit company at the moment, and then I'm doing all the journo on the side. So that's really new. That's really different. But this year for me, I guess it wasn't really about cutting out drink as much because I did drink too much. I just like casually. It was more about like self-control and taking control of things, and that's the one thing that I definitely did this year with regards to drinking, my professional career and personal life, like fitness and stuff like that. So for me, it's been like a mentality thing. And now sitting here in December, like in my own flat, in a place that I'd never even heard of before, it's kind of interesting.
So how did you go from your internship and then you went, it's interesting because you're one of the few uni students that have taken on the tokens this year. Often say that that's super interesting because when I was at uni, there's no way I would have probably cut back my drinking. So I'm pretty impressed with your ability to think about having a conscious drinking lifestyle at your age. But how did you go from finishing university and then into your new role with the CrossFit company?
It kind of happened suddenly. So I wasn't going to apply for anything. And then I saw in May, like the job advertised, and I'd heard of the company before because I just got into CrossFit. And I sent my CV to the guy on sort of like an off chance. And he was really interested and he got me down for an interview and he just completely sold it to me, the area, the gym that they're trying at. And the company is like everything, like barbells and rigs and stuff. It's all made in Britain, which is like really, really unique and it's difficult to do. So this guy like came and completely turned everything upside down for me when I was at uni. And then, yeah, he let me start in July, August, just after the Euros. So kind of, it all happened really quickly and I didn't really have that off time. I went home for like 3 weeks, went to the Netherlands for the Euros, and I started my job. I literally landed and drove to an Airbnb and then started work the next day. So I haven't really had any time off since uni, but if anything, I drink more now. I was really, really restrictive during my final year, because I was like, I need to do the best that I can, and if I'm drinking every night, I'm not going to do that. But now I've got all this spare time and I've got lots of spare tokens. I'm drinking a lot more casually.
Cool. So are you still conscious about your drinking though? Because I know you did drink a little bit while you were at uni, not a lot, but you were kind of, I guess, pretty conscious about your drinking, so you didn't have like that super terrible hangover. Is it still that case because you're working in a job where you're trying to sort of get the best out of yourself and the company?
Yeah, for sure. I've realised that I really struggled with in the start, and I think I've written about this, is every time I drank, I felt like I have to go hard. I have to like get so smashed because these are like tokens that I can only use this last times. What I've like really grown to appreciate is a casual social drink. So I'm not getting like completely messed up, completely wasted. There are times that I have, like last weekend, I think I smashed 10 pints in 6 hours. But
Watching football.
it wasn't. It was after Black Friday. I worked
right,
19
okay.
days straight. It was like,
Yep.
I had to blow off some steam, and I did. And the next day I went to football, I drank then too. But that's one thing that I've learned in the latter half of the year, is that it's okay to have one drink. Like, that's fine. Just because it's casual doesn't mean that's a bad thing. But it's just made me realise like, what my limit is a lot more. Now I don't have to push that and test it. I think that's mature for me, because for the first probably 6 months, every time I went out, I was like, yeah, you have to go hard. You have to go as hard as you possibly can, because you'd be wasting the token if not.
Yeah, I think that's a super interesting kind of realization and journey that everyone goes on in this instance, because you'll go, even if you start drinking quite a bit at the start of the year, you'll go a long period to try and stock up on them, and then when you come off that sober long period, you feel like you've got to make it count, which is kind of a mantra that we've got. But making it count isn't about getting as blind as you can so you don't remember. It's about finding sort of, I guess, your optimal enjoyment level, and that's something that I really want to tap into in 2018, and think about how like different people react, and how can you really think about that optimal level of drinking, whether it's for going out with beers with colleagues, whether it's for going on a first date, which leads me into my next question, or for creative thinking, because I think there's a lot of research to say, and there's a lot of super famous people and smart people who've been able to activate their creative mind through a bit of alcohol. So that's something we can think about in 2018, but it's super interesting that you bring up that point, and I'm glad to hear that it's you've worked out that you can have the one beer token, which is kind of an interesting thing in itself. So onto your date. You mentioned to me a few weeks back that you had a first or second date. Was it first date? And it was completely sober, and that's always something that comes up with people. How did it go?
It's funny because it was the second day. So I wasn't drunk on, like liquid courage on the first day. But on the second day, I kind of realised I wasn't into it. I think it's because I didn't have a drink.
Okay.
It's funny, that's only quite a few dates now. I'm completely new to the dating world, because that's another thing that changed this year. I became single for the first time in nearly 4 years.
Yep.
So I was dating again, and I realised like how integral drinking is, because the one time that I didn't, I was like, it kind of felt awkward. I kind of just realised, I was like, I don't actually really get along with you that much, because beer, alcohol is a social lubricant, and it makes everything easier. So I went on another date yesterday, a first date, and I intended it to be sober because I was driving, but I ended up having 2 ales. So next time I'm making it like a challenge to meet someone and not drink, because it's a strange one. I think
it's awesome. So yeah, go on. Sorry.
I just think I do think it kind of changes situations if you have a cheeky bev.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's interesting that you tried it on the second date and then you realised that you didn't like the person, and it's kind of good that you did, because imagine if you'd gone 5 dates of being boozed and given the wrong impression, which I'm sure many a person's done. But it's also cool that I still think it's okay to have a couple beers on a date. Like for me, that gives you, I guess it unlocks a little bit of a barrier, or it knocks down a barrier, I guess, but it doesn't mean that you're going to be smashed and, not yourself. But be super keen to hear how you go with a full sober first date, considering it's something you've trialled out now in some way, shape or form. I want to tap back into your CrossFit. So I didn't actually realise that you were working in marketing for CrossFit. That's amazing. All I've been seeing, and I've shared a few things with the crew, is you're smashing your PBs and like really just caning the gym, which is pretty cool. But it's so awesome that you've, I guess, turned your career your passions into career on 2 fronts. So you're not only working as a professional journalist at the Euros and for the biggest clubs in the world, but you're also working in your sort of other hobby in a marketing sense. So you're kind of immersing yourself in your passions, which is amazing.
Yeah.
One question about that: how does that affect your love of football and or CrossFit? Do you still have the same love, and can you disconnect work from, I guess, pleasure?
Massively. It's interesting though, because the people that I work with are the same people that I train with and I hang out with at the weekend, and it has become like massively centric around that. But I think it's easier with the marketing job, because I love the products and I know them and I use them every day. So it's quite easy for me to like go into the gym and completely switch off. I'm not thinking about that and just do my thing. With football, I think it's a little bit different, because football's always been my life. Like, it's always been my entire world. I mean, I'm sat in a living room right now. I don't know if you can see, but that's a Newcastle print. There's Gaza on the wall.
I think the video is not firing, I think, on one of our ends. So to me, you're just stuck. I'm sure I'm stuck on your side as well. But yeah, I can imagine you've got lots of Newcastle stuff in your house.
Yeah, there's a lot of Newcastle stuff. So turning that into a profession, it does make a difference. Like, going to games is so strange. Like, I worked, it was the Boxing Day game, Newcastle United versus Sheffield. That was the first time I'd ever worked for a Newcastle game. And that was weird for me because I wanted to be in the stands. I wanted to be singing.
Yeah.
For women's football, it's a little bit different, but I don't know. It's harder to disconnect because I am, like, at heart, I am a football hooligan. But I love writing about it. So for CrossFit, it's easier to switch off because it's not my entire life. Whereas football, it just feels like it is. I mean,
okay, that's really interesting.
About football, it's like it's at the very core of me.
Yeah, I know. But that's sort of amazing. I still think you'll get better at that for sure. But maybe there is that one exception when you're going to be going to see the guys play at Newcastle, that you're always going to have that fever. Sometimes you hear a commentator who's meant to, I guess, balance out when they're watching a game, and they sort of get a little bit more excited when their team scores. I can hear you being like that, even in your writing. Just a little bit biased towards Newcastle United.
Yes, massively. I've had that. My mentors that once, but sometimes you can't help it. I think for me, I'll never work a Newcastle game again because it was really hard. It was a good thing for me, and I got to sit in the same room as Rafa Benitez and got to ask him a question and stuff. But
awesome.
It was a challenge. It was a challenge.
Yeah, that's so good. You've kind of you're what, 22? Are you 22 or 23 now?
22.
22, and you've already pretty much lived your dream.
Yeah. Cool.
That's awesome. Yeah, it's so good. We'll wrap up with a couple of questions. How many tokens are you on at the moment?
I've got 37 left.
37. Yeah, so you're kind of similar to me. You could drink for the rest of the year. Don't do that unless it's conscious, and you wouldn't hit 101. So that's awesome. What would you say has been the best token that you spent this year, or maybe a couple? Yeah.
I got it. I know it for sure. It was the final of the Euros. I was already really hungover. I think August was my worst month because I just drank for like 5 days straight in the last week of the Euros. But Holland won, and my friend, I was getting ready to pack my bags because we were leaving early the next morning. My friend came to me and he said, I can get us into the after party with the Dutch national team. And I was like, let's go. So we got there. We'd already had a few drinks because we said that we were going. And the bouncers wouldn't let us in. They were like, no. So the Dutch guy sneaks in really easily. And then it's me. It sounds like kind of a joke. It was me, a French guy, and an Italian guy. We're like, oh, what do we do now? The French guy sneaks in so quickly. So me and the Italian guy try. The bouncers turn us away again for a second time. And then on the third time, we just pretend to be on the phone and sneak in. And then we drank for free for the rest of the night. We've got photos with the Dutch team, got completely wasted with them, and then got on a flight the next day. That was what, without a doubt, breaking into the Dutch after party, the best token of the year.
Amazing. That's so good. Then that'll be like a story that you remember forever as well.
Yeah, exactly. And it was like
a little bit of hair of the dog too. You probably would have needed a bit of hair of the dog to enjoy that experience like you did.
Yeah. And it was free drinks as well because we bumped into some of the players' families and they were like, oh, you don't have a wristband? Oh, we'll get you free drinks. So
awesome. That always helps. It's like a double-edged sword though, isn't it, sometimes?
Exactly.
All right, awesome. So what's your plans for the rest of the year? What do you got coming up? We'll wrap it up here. And what are the goals after you've smashed 2017? What are you looking to do in 2018?
It's a difficult one. Rest of the year, I'm just trying to unwind now. I think I had a really up and down year. It's been like the year, I feel like the coming of age year where I sort of realized things, figured it all out. So I'm going to go hard at Christmas, and I am. I'm detoxing from now until Christmas.
Okay.
And then I've got a couple of end of year targets in CrossFit that I want to hit. So I want to hit a 60 kilo clean and jerk, a 40 kilo snatch, and 100 deadlift. And I'm pretty close to all of them. So that on the fitness side, I want to fit in.
I could lift that much.
I'm sure you can.
I'm terrible.
And then I want to fit in a few football matches, which I should have this weekend. And maybe even a sober date.
And maybe a sober date as well. Awesome. Yeah, a lot of football coming up over Christmas too. And so you haven't really thought about 2018. You're just going to roll with the punches, or have you got any, I guess, journo goals or anything like that?
Well, yes, it's 2018 next year. No actual journo goals because I don't really want to go to Russia, just for my own safety. But 2019 for sure, I want to go to the World Cup, Women's World Cup. But 2018, I think, is the year that I want to kind of stabilize everything. Hopefully, I should make everything permanent down here. I'm happy come February. So I think it's like a year of stability, figure it all out. I've been living by myself completely for 3 months now. So I'm at that phase where I'm settled, so I just need to maintain that. And then 2019, I think, is going to be the bigger year. I just want to. It's like that maintenance of everything, really. I've lost the weight. I'm getting there with my career, so keep it stable.
Awesome. Yeah, you've done so well. It's amazing. Proud of you, buddy.
Thanks, mate. This is going to be big next year. 101 tokens. I've told so many people, and they love it.
Awesome. Yeah, you're gonna have to help me tell people in the UK, because obviously I'm on the other side of the pond over here. But yeah, keep up the awesome work, and I'm super keen to continue, obviously, as always, to follow your progress. Yeah, both professionally and with everything that you're doing. So great to speak to you. Thanks so much for your time. I hope the guys are listening. I hope this connected okay. I'm not sure, but yeah, I hope the guys got something out of it, and I hope it inspires people both in your friendship group to really like kick ass in 2018 and smash their goals, and because anything's possible, right?
Exactly.
Right, my dear. Thanks so much. Yeah, you too. Speak to you soon.